majority of them. And how many card holders do we have? Well, this is mandatory. Yes, it's mandatory. We have 149 card holders presently. Well, that fluctuates too, about 60. Oh, no, the GAL. It's a GAL.
We'll be starting in another minute or so please, everyone, please take your seats. Good morning, everyone that's on the West Coast with the purchase card community, and good afternoon of those of you on the East Coast. I'm so happy to be here because we are going to experience a great deal of purchase card training. My name is Famaine Brown. I'm with the Office of Acquisition and Grants Management, and I am the manager with the Acquisition Workforce Development. So here today, we will definitely talk about a lot of training initiatives going on with the purchase card program. And with that, I wanted to make sure you understand going forward that we have a lot of individuals participating virtually. And in order to get credit for this training, I need you to send an email to the purchase card training mailbox. And that actual email is listed in the back of your PowerPoint, CCing your supervisor that you have participated in the training. And also, when we will be addressing questions, we'll do that after each segment. We have 3 segments today, along with the IG segment. And after each segment, we will definitely entertain questions either in the audience or on the phone. We'll also have a break after a session, and I'll announce that once we get to that section. Next slide. So I also want you to know that we at OAGM have taken an aggressive stance in reference to the purchase card program. And with that said, we have hired a contractor to come on board to help us with our reviews and also improve our processes. So today, Rose Jackson will be doing the majority of the training and also entertaining some of your questions. The themes that we have in place are definitely the roles and responsibilities, processes and documentation, and administrative procedures. With that said, we also have some special guests that will say a few words on behalf of the purchase card program. Next slide, please. Next slide. So here again, I am Famaine Brown. I provide the management over the purchase card program. I'm also the acquisition career manager here at CMS, and I am the liaison between the department and also other optives. Next slide. So next I would like to introduce Melissa Sterinsky. She is our Director of OAGM. She's also the head of the contracting activity. Melissa has a lot of duties in reference to this purchase program, but also with other activities that resides over our $8 billion portfolio. And at this time, Melissa would like to share a few words.
Thank you, Femaine, and so nice to see all of you out in the audience as well as those that are participating virtually across the country. I wanted to be over here today to kick this thing off, and I also plan to stay because I'd like to hear the conversation that ensues in the next hour or so. The purchase card program is a really important program for the federal government, and it is absolutely critical that we have clarity on the roles and responsibilities and the right internal controls to make sure that the purchase card program is being managed and administered properly. We did have the Government Accountability Office come in and do an audit of our purchase card program, and they have identified a number of findings that have resulted in some changes to the way in which we are managing the purchase card program that I think you'll hear about today. Many of you have already probably felt some of the effects of some of those change processes with regard to threshold limits and so on. So you'll be hearing more about that in the next hour or so. But really, really important that everybody really understands how the purchase card is supposed to be used, what the reporting requirements are, the auditing requirements are related to the purchase card program. So I really wanted to be here because it is important. We need to make sure that we're not leaving you all individually, personally liable for anything, as well as the agency. And so really wanted to be here today because it's that important to all of us in the agency. I think, as Femaine mentioned, our real main goals for today is, and I just said so as well, making sure that everybody understands the roles and responsibilities, so you'll hear more about that, how to use and process the cards, and then also you'll hear about our steps that we're taking to strengthen our internal controls around the purchase card program. I will say that overall, I would say the purchase card program is working effectively. So that's the good news, but there absolutely is opportunity for improvement for each of us individually as well as us organizationally. So look forward to hearing the training that we're all going to get here today and participating in the discussion as it evolves over the next hour. So thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Also, I want to bring to your attention that Derek Hurd, our Deputy Director, also assists Melissa in part of this process. So just want you to make you aware of his role in the purchase card program. And as you can see, he helps assist Melissa in planning and organizing and coordinating some of these policies and processes. Next slide. So we have, as I spoke, a special guest, Adam Layton. Adam is from the Office of Inspector General. Previously, I think if you were a card holder, you were introduced to Kimberly Hughes and also Monica Zink. But Adam has graciously accepted our invitation to give you an overview of the Inspector General's process in reference to the purchase card program. So I turn it over to you now, Adam. Yes. Yeah, you got to use them. Both of them should be, yes. Switch at the bottom.
Check. There we go. It's like normally I give these presentations without mics. I'm also charged of the ORR UAC program. I'm also the contract fraud guy, the grant fraud guy, and now this has been graciously passed on to me. I'll start out, this is the first time I've ever been in this building at all. I usually go up to Rockville and all other places, and I think I gave the security guys a heart attack this morning. They didn't know what to do with me in the front gate. They just passed me on to the guys at the front, and I'm trying to be nice, and I'm like, yeah. And they're like, just go through the magnetometers. I can't. No, just go through. So my book bag's got all sorts of ninja knives the kids are throwing in there and all sorts of goofy garbage. And I go through the mags, and the first thing it says, do you have anything metal on you? Yes, I have a gun on me. Everybody starts looking around like, what are we going to do? And I just told her I was a special agent. I just told her I was armed. But your guys are doing their job, so hooray for them. She told me I was presenting right after lunch. One of the 2 worst times to present it all. After lunch, because everybody's got puppy bellies, and an hour before you get ready to leave. Because luckily I didn't get that slot. Whoever's got that slot will. I mean, because you're pretty much checked out about 3. So we're going to go through these slides right quick. I'm the kind of guy, I don't like teaching from the PowerPoint, but I kind of got to give it to you to check the box. And I'll kind of hit on some of the stuff. This is usually about a 35, 40-minute presentation, and I like to walk around a little bit and throw personal experiences in there. To give you kind of a little bit of background of where I came from, I spent the first 10 years of my law enforcement career in the Secret Service. Yeah, I did all the cool stuff and protected Obama and all the other stuff. But what I also did was access device fraud and bank fraud. So that's why they kind of gave me this. Because this stuff doesn't stop with you. If you come to us and we see a fraud issue, we can go a little bit farther than that for 1029 and outside of our organization and get somebody from unauthorized access devices. They're actually copying our credit cards, which does happen now, especially with the travel cards and the gas cards. Introduce, provide purchase card holders, approving officials, yada, 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 to understand how to identify and prevent fraud, how to assist investigators without interfering in compromised investigations. We're kind of going to burn through this. How many of you guys are actual purchase card holders? All of you should be. How many of you guys are that approving official? Yeah, we'll talk about you guys too, because you got to roll in it too. Quick thing, I'm also a purchase card holder. I've been here have been one ever since I came to this organization, and it's not something I go, I raise my hand and go, this is the greatest moment of my life. Thank you for making me a purchase card holder, especially in the month of September. Why is that? Because everybody wants to buy something. I've got $35,000. I don't care if you buy $35,000 worth of marbles. Just make sure they're not from the same company. Make it happen. Okay. And then what happens in October, November? You got to pull in all the receipts. You got to do the max. And then it's like, you might as well for me, I got to put all my investigations aside and take care of all of the administrative hassles associated with my own purchase card. So see, keep going through this. Our investigation has shown that increasing misused purchase cards, yes and no. I want to disagree with this because our control mechanisms are starting to put in place now. We implemented them a little while, now they're starting to hit. You no longer see that case for $250,000 because one of our employees went to eBay and started burning us up every month because our controls were catching it at manageable numbers so we could go talk to them and get rid of it from there. Matters not identifying the discrepancies. Yep, that still happens. Prior HHS investigations and covering incidents fraud. Like I said, we're probably below 50 grand now because we're catching it early. Indication of OIG are not being properly notified of potential purchase card fraud. Nope, that doesn't happen anymore. But there are instances where, and I'll go over this, where the administration, where your admin process gets in the way and you think this is fraud, and it's just somebody who just lost the receipts. And they're trying to cover up for it. Here's our goofy law. You can read it. OIG authorized, blah, 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 blah. What that basically says is anything the secretary can see, I can see. So I can pull up every one of your records, every one of your travel cards, everything you have, I can see it. Which puts it in not to spook you or scare you, it lets you know that I'm a resource for you. If you need something, I can track it down. Basically, United States Code, yeah, blah, blah, I just told you that. Said I'm not a PowerPoint guy. In short, and that's the third PowerPoint that says the exact same thing. All right, who we do? Here we go. This is kind of what we do. SIB is kind of an offshoot from the rest of OIG. We're one big OIG family. I've got shirts that say OIG and I mow the yard with them, so I'm good to go there. But the rest of the things we do are Office of Secretary, Office of Inspector General. These are all the things that we kind of cover. We cover everything, and especially for SIB. The Special Investigations Branch, we're kind of, if you want to think of it, and I don't want to put it, I hate doing this, but it's the best way for you to understand, we're kind of the internal affairs of the department. We go after all the internals. All the guys in the field, they're going after the Medicare fraud. That's 99% of what they do. All the internals, all the grant fraud, all the discretionary work stays at SIB. And every once in a while, we'll get tasked with something new, like now the opioid thing is big. So I'm waiting for my boss to come and slam that on the desk. But In the past year, it's been OR, Office of Refugee and Resettlement, Unaccompanied Minors Program. There's a lot of things happening with that, and that's one of our new things. But it falls under us because that's what we do. We do those little odd job kind of things, discretionary work. The OIG investigative process, targeting random reviews, referrals, hotlines. Most of our stuff comes from referrals, I'll be honest with you. Hotline phone calls every once in a while. But I will say right off the bat that I get a lot of referrals from you guys. Somehow you're like, this doesn't match up. You'll send it to me or you'll send it to my boss and he'll go, hey, figure out what it is. And we track them down. If it comes from you, I'm going to track it down. If you tell me, hey, I don't know what it is, it may be something simple and stupid, send it to me if you have got that gut feeling, because I'm going to track it down. I'm not going to go, oh, this is crap. No, I'm going to track it down for you. If it comes in a hotline, it's anonymous, I don't know. I mean, we'll see how far it goes. If it's a legitimate claim, yes. But if you weren't strong enough to put their name on it and it's really weak, we might throw it out there. But we kind of go after everything we can see. Investigative assist to determine the course of action, criminal administrative, interviews, evidence review, prosecution administration. This is a really brief determination of what can happen. Everybody wants to submit that referral, and the next week they want to see justice done. It takes a while. It takes a while to pull records. We in OIG have to call out to the OpDiv. The OpDiv has to call down, and it's a cycle. I can't just skip cycles. I get the information, but I can't skip the cycle, so it takes time. And we need to build up the case. Where capability, subpoena authority, interviews, rights and warnings, independent fact-finding, relationships with vendors, relationships with JP Morgan Chase, arrest authority. All this stuff comes down. Look at the second one, interviews with rights and warnings. There's something called, anyone ever heard it called Calkines? There's a Calkines warning, there's a Garrity warning, there's a Miranda. Everybody knows Miranda, right? You have the right to remain silent. Everybody's seen a cop show once in a while. That's criminal. Garrity is kind of pseudo-land in between them. Calkines is administrative. If I'm giving you a Calkines warning, that means that nothing you say in that interview can be used against you in a criminal court. That's a little thing to keep a note in mind. It's kind of to help you a little bit, but you'll understand where we're coming from. When we're talking about Calkines, we just want the information. In a Calkines, it doesn't serve you any justice to hold back or lie, because I've already have it all if I'm doing that. Potential violations, I mean, you could write these down, but you probably look them up too. 18 U.S.C. 64, I mean, theft of money, employment, blah, 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 1001. There's the false statements. Remember I told you, it doesn't do you any good to lie. If you lie to me in a Calkines or Garrity, yes, now I can go criminal on you. 1001. And why? I mean, I tell all the criminals, or not all the criminals, but everybody we talk to, what's the point in it? Why are you lying to me? Is it because you're ashamed of what you did? It doesn't matter. I mean, it's going to come out in the wash anyway. Now you're looking at jail time instead of, having some sort of administrative action held against you. I'd rather keep my job than go to jail. There's also one called 1029, 18 U.S.C. 1029, which is unauthorized access device. Yes, you are authorized to use that purchase card. Who gives you that authorization? I don't know. Anybody? Who gives you that authorization to use that purchase card? Now, if you took that purchase card and went to the Golden Corral and paid for your entire family, did your authorization figure give you that authorization to do that? Unauthorized access device usage. All right, HHS has a partner program, the FAR. Everybody knows the FAR. It's like a 10,000-page nightmare. And the GO is Principles of Federal Appropriations Law. I deal with this stuff all the time, and they use it to put me to sleep every night. All right, misuse personal gain, misuse to benefit friends or family, lack of knowledge. The third one is the one you need the key on. Lack of knowledge. People just don't know that they weren't supposed to do that. Like I said, I've had a purchase card, and when you have a manager, I've got bosses too. That 15 comes down to me and goes, September, look, I really like this 511 backpack. I want to buy it for everyone in our region. And you're looking at it going, these are $200 a piece. You're doing the math. It's like, wait a minute, that's $7,000. We can't buy it from the same guy, but they're pushing you to do it. Like, wait a minute. My purchase limit is $3,000. You got to push back. There's other ways of doing it. It's lack of knowledge. They just don't know it. They go out and do it anyway. Lack of supervision, poor oversight of purchases. Be dead honest with you. My 15 trusts me inherently. He doesn't look at what I purchased, but I still have to get authorization from him. Mistakenly used the purchase card instead of the personal credit card. We have that. Not necessarily the purchase card. I've seen the instances, but the travel card, because the travel card looks the same. Do that all the time. Here's the first example. HSS employee created a PayPal account. PayPal account converted money, blah, 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 blah. Go all the way through this. Look at the bottom, $114,000 restitution NIH. Basically what this guy was doing is using his purchase card to buy stuff, and he went on his eBay, or this is the number one thing we have going. They either go on their eBay account or some sort of PayPal account, and they'll sell stuff. So they'll use their purchase card to go to Best Buy. They'll buy 2 or 3 laptops. They'll write it off. Supervisors don't check it. It goes to the system. They go home. They mark it on eBay. These are really, really ridiculously easy to catch because their eBay name is like getting paid or something ridiculous. It's like the name itself gives them guilt. Second example: employee used her government-issued convenience check to pay her self-tolling. Now this, once again, we don't catch the smart ones. We catch the stupid ones. This is a gigantic red flag when this happens because it's going to come to us. Somebody's going to go, whoa, that doesn't make any sense. Example 3, use a government purchase card to make personal purchase totaling $9,000. This happens a lot more than you think, and it's still happening. It used to happen, what time period do you think this happens a lot? Christmas time. Or birthday. And at Christmas time, I get it. It's like, I understand, but I don't approve of it. They're going out and they're buying Christmas presents for their entire family using a purchase card. And I'm like, what kind of receipts are you doing? And then I find out, there's a site you can go on, it generates receipts? Yeah, you can do that. I'm not going to give it to you, though. There's a site you can go on and you can generate receipts. You can generate receipts for travel cards as in food places. And it'll come up, it'll literally print you a bunch of receipts that you can use. That's what they were doing. So that's what we call it. Operating division of employee purchase card holder may have misused government-issued purchase card by making approximately $24,000 purchase per blah, blah, blah. See, once again, over a 2-week time span, that's going to get caught. We're going to catch that. Our system's in place right now that are going to prevent that from happening. So we're coming better and better. I think the last thing I checked is, I think we're on a 6-month backlog, so we're starting to catch up. Employees are tracked using various, that's the same case. Wire fraud is another one, 18 U.S.C. 1341. If you use that purchase card somewhere other than the district, and it goes over a computer, it's wire fraud. You're going to get charged again for that, and that'll stick in court. Not only those disputes, APO and NSC not notified concerns, no checks or balances purchased. The third one's really right there. There's no checks and balancers. Who reviews you? Like, I will submit my purchases. I've got a really good chain. I've got Ingrid and a bunch of other ones that really review my stuff. And they'll come back and go, hey, I mean, it's sometimes a little ridiculous. Like, hey, your receipt's upside down. All right, she kicks it back and I got to turn the receipt so it's right side up. But, it is what it is. But, whatever. I mean, she's great to me, so I let her go. But sometimes the reviewer never reviews it. I was like, why do we have these purchases, for tinting a government vehicle 4 on the same day when you realize that the tinting company can only do 1 on that same day? It's one of those things you kind of ask, what's going on? And like I said, it's mostly because of administrative error. They just got lazy. Easily converted gift cards. Not as much anymore, but gift cards are still a problem. I can take that purchase card. Now, it used to be you had to go to the actual vendor. Where can you get gift cards these days? Anywhere. Online. You can step into Giant now. I'm looking at Giant the other day, and they got gift cards for Olive Garden, restaurants that aren't even anywhere near me, like Best Buy, everything. You can buy everything right there in Giant. A lot of other places sell gift cards too, so you can really hammer down on gift cards online or at another store and start processing it for money, selling the gift cards. It's just differences in ability to identify fraud. Identifiers identified, there we go. Investigators identified approximately $30,000 in personal unauthorized purchases. Once again, this is what changed. This is the one that changed our process of how we look at things. And we actually created a new system and got involved with it. We did on the SIB level. It's the same case during review management. Found the cardholders made multiple suspicious purchases. Management was unable to obtain documents showing it was purchased. We're always going to get the documents. I'm going to go to JP Morgan Chase and I'm going to get the documents. We have a hard line, but this took a while. This investigation was not short because we have to submit an OI-2. It gets bounced back. That's not going to do. We need you to actually have a subpoena. We have to submit the subpoena and get everything, but we're going to get it in the end. Here we go. What IG expects you as management officials at AOPCs? You can conduct your own fact find. You probably already do. How many of you, where's my reviewers again? Yeah. How many, you actually look at the receipts? The total amount, I'm like, no. Some months like September, it's difficult. I get it, because everybody's trying to bang things out. But, so take a look at them and see, does this make sense? Does this follow in the line with the mission set that your organization is set for? Ask basic questions. Do not interview or interrogate the employees. Look, if you ask questions, you're probably interviewing and interrogating them anyway, whether you like it or not. Just, you're not an agent of OIG, and I cannot ask you to do that because then it violates the law. When misuse is suspected, contact OIG immediately. Like I said, I'll have my email information. Send me an email. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Do not take disciplinary action with OIG approval. Yeah, that'll get you jammed up quicker than anything. You start suspending people, look, go through the right procedures. Take time. Contact OIG if you need clarification on suspected purchases. You'll know they're suspected, but feel free to reach out for us. What we've done it so far, dedicated point of contact for operational, yes, your dedicated point of contact, that's me. Coordinate liaison sessions, I'm here, I'm liaison. Ongoing evaluation of current procedures, referral processes, and identifying areas of improvement, we're still doing that. This is a big world. HHS is a big world. The only thing bigger than us is DOD. There's a lot of op-divs. Training and implementation of analytical software. We have one line of software we're really starting to learn. And outreach presentations is what we're doing here. We're willing to do this anytime you guys need it. And we're trying to keep you guys abreast of all the stuff that's going on in our world. Before we get to questions, I'll kind of go over what I was talking about before with administrative stuff. We're seeing a lot more on the uptick of what we do. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a card holder. I know what it's like, and I've done it before. It was totally accidental. There's a difference between intent and fraud, actual intention to do it. Like every one of you got this morning, said you needed to come in this room today. You walked through the door with the intention of what? Watching this. The next guy who comes blazing this door thinking this is the bathroom, he didn't have intent to do it. But same thing with you when it comes down to processing all your credit card stuff. If you submit something by error, own up to the error and just say it. Because I'm going out on interviews now. I'm interviewing purchase card holders who actually, you look at the records, they had no intent of defraud. They're not buying stuff at Best Buy or whatever, but it looks like they're maliciously trying to hide it because they lost the receipts. Just submit it and tell everybody up the chain, I lost the receipt. I've lost receipts. Told my boss. Yeah, you kind of take it and like, well, you're supposed to keep up. Yeah, I know. All the stuff going on, I've got kid pictures all over my desk and everything else. It is what it is. But just admit it. A lost receipt. Don't try to fabricate receipts. Put them on there and push it through the line as if no one's going to catch it, because it's going to get caught. Even if you go to the magic site and print out numbers, eventually it's going to get caught. It's just not worth it, especially when you didn't do anything wrong. You just made an administrative error. It's an accident. Just go with that. So without further delay, any questions? Kind of quick, I know.
Are there any questions on the phone?
Wow.
So Adam, I guess
really good or really bad. So.
Adam, I thank you for giving us that overview of how important it is to do the right thing at the right time when you're doing your purchase card transactions. And Adam is giving some of this information jokingly, but really it's a serious situation. And he's mentioned the word jail and prosecuted throughout his discussion, and that's real. So please just keep those thoughts in the forefront of your mind when you begin to do your transactions. Thank you, Adam.
There's my email. And like she said, it's just not worth it. Do you really want to get that extra $2,000 to go to jail for 3 years? It's just not worth it.
Not worth it at all. Thank you so much, Adam. Can we switch back? So I want to introduce two major participants of the CMS purchase card program. First, we have Carmen Cosarcillo, and she is the AOPC. Carmen, as you know, I'm sure you've had interactions with several times, and I believe that she would like to say a few words.
Hello, everyone. Like she said, my name is Carmen Carasquillo. I'm the AOPC for the CMS Purchase Card Program, and Femaine is my director. Hopefully, if you're already in the Purchase Card Program and you're attending this training, you already know who I am. If you don't, it's nice to meet you. I'm always available by email. You should have the email address for the CMS Purchase Card mailbox. If you don't, you can look it up in the global under CMS Purchase Card Program. It'll come right up. The email address will also be at the end of the slide, so you'll have it in case you don't. It's imperative that you send all your correspondence that has anything to do with the Purchase Card Program to the Purchase Card mailbox and not my personal CMS email. The reason for this is, number one, it would be nice if my personal email did not get audited for the Purchase Card Program. But on top of that, we want to make sure that in case I'm out, the assistant AOPC has access to your emails, because if you send it just to me, guess what? She has no access to my email. So it is imperative, I'm going to say it one more time, please send all Purchase Card correspondence to the CMS Purchase Card Program mailbox. Anybody have any questions for me? Okay.
Thank you, Carmen. And that special person that assists Carmen is Crystal McWilliams. Crystal, you can stand. She's in the audience here today with us. And of course, she does a lot of the password resets, and she does a lot of behind-the-scene maintenance in reference to the Purchase Card Program. So we will start, next slide. I'll introduce Ms. Jackson as the person who will give you the extended Purchase Card training. But before we get started, we're going to take a 15-minute break. And then we'll be back, let's see, in 15 minutes. So let's get back at 1:50. Thank you. Okay, we're going to be starting in about 30 seconds. Okay, welcome back to the Purchase Card Program Training. Again, my name is Famaine Brown, and I am the Program Manager here at OATM over the program. And this part of the training will concentrate on the three themes that we talked about previously: roles and responsibilities, also process and procedures, and then and also administrative matters. As I mentioned too, OAGM realized how important the program is, the purchase card program is, and therefore we took initiative to hire a contractor. So we brought on board Lord and Tucker Management Consultants to do our internal reviews. And I believe some of you have experienced some reviews already, and I thank you for coordinating with the contractor to make that happen. And we were very happy with some of the information we have been receiving. But I just wanted to introduce you, Rose Jackson, who is the project director and will also be doing the rest of the training, and as well as Kali Dabuz over here, who has been, I believe, visiting with you and asking for your files and reviewing them and creating a report of her findings. So no regions, we're coming to see you. We'll be out there hopefully sometime maybe FY18. So, but we will make sure that we'll send you an invite so you know that it will not be a surprise. So with that said, I am going to turn it over to Rose Jackson, and we will start the rest of the training.
All right, thank you, Famaine, and thank you all for coming down here at headquarters. And I always like to welcome the regional offices out in California, New York, Philadelphia, you know, all those places. And as Famaine said, we will be out reviewing your 2015 files as well. So we know that the FAR says that at a certain time that the files should be sent to storage and eventually destroyed, but please do not do that for your FY15 files. So I'm going to start with the training objectives, and again, it's just to review the roles and responsibilities and get everyone on the same page as we move into the next fiscal year. We're going to explain some market research processes and procedures and help you through some of the documents. You're going to see a few new documents and some documents that's been updated. And then we're going to talk about the CMS administrative procedures. So let me move ahead here. Went over that. And it was nice meeting the head of the contracting activity earlier. It was nice speaking with her. And again, these are the roles and responsibilities, the personnel that we're going to discuss shortly. I do want to bring your attention to the approving official, the AO. Has a new name and a new title, so AOs, your ears might perk up. You're going to become the office receiver. By law, the purchase card holder should not be checking in is owned by, they're owned by. So that's pretty new. Let's see, we'll have a backup AO, a component point of contact, the component billing officer, and the accountability property manager Those are some of the main roles. And again, we don't want to forget our the agency program coordinator, Carmen. And as she said, you're going to send all your correspondence and questions to her through email. We're going to go over that later in the slides. And then there's an assistant agency program coordinator. And then, of course, your supervisor, who needs to be on board as well with all these new processes and procedures and documents that we're going to cover. And of course, this is from Maine, and she is delegated the overall responsibility for managing your purchase card program. And she ensures that the program complies with the federal laws and regulations and monitoring the program's activities for effectiveness. Okay, so we're going to start with, I like to say Carmen, but the agency purchase card coordinator responsibilities. The first thing is that they establish and issues the CMS purchase card guidance, and that's located online. And they're creating this new toolkit, one-stop place where you can go. It's called the Acquisition Gateway. And I'm thinking in the next week or two, everything that we discuss here, some of the forms will be in that location, your training, everything. She prepares the CMS purchase card reports, interacts with GSA and the servicing bank and other organizations, conducts periodic audits, may do 90-day spot checks to assess card usage, data mining, modifying, and then, if we need to modify the policy, that's one of her roles as well. Establishes and terminates accounts, establishes default merchant category classification codes, and that's for this agency. Review new card holders and AOR accounts within 90 days of their appointment. And these are some of the other activities that fall under her roles and responsibilities. What's new on this slide? Okay, we said that. This needs it. Okay, provides training. I'm going all the way down to the bottom. Provides training and advice to card holders and approving officials, and ensures that the training records are complete. You're going to find all of this in your 2010 policy, and we're going to again see that later on in the slides. Okay, so now we're moving to the purchase card roles and responsibilities. And you are responsible for conducting good market research, determining the best value, making authorized purchases, maintaining required documentation, and processing the cardholder statements and obtaining approvals of the purchases before you buy them. This is also taken from your policy. You ensure that adequate funds are available, and for that fiscal year, you want to make sure you're spending the monies in the appropriate funded year. And then you must comply with the restrictions in the prohibited purchases list. And that's in Appendix C. That's going to be in your policy, the 2010 HHS Purchase Card Program Guide. There's also a checklist for Section 508 compliance. And I don't know if you know, I'm a retired federal employee, and I worked on the Section 508 Council for many years, and I do want to compliment you on your 508 compliance policy and how you implemented it. A lot of agencies are still struggling with that. So your PowerPoint slides had to be 508 compliant. And 508 speaks to the IT and electronic devices. Like Apple was probably one of the first companies to really implement 508 in its phones by having, you can enlarge the fonts on the phone. You could switch to accessibility on the phones. And then you want to attain the required pre-purchase approval or clearances. So you want to always go to your AO and make sure everything is approved before you buy. Even if it's online buys, you want to somehow make sure that it's documented, the date that you got everything approved before you purchase it. And to comply with the single purchase and monthly purchase limits. Okay, there's 508 again up top there. You want to verify that the purchases have been received and keep track of those that have not been received. Review all transactions reported by JP Morgan Chase Bank and reconcile them timely through your monthly statements. You want to resolve any errors or issues with the merchants through your disputes and any unresolved invalid transactions. You want to notify the ALOR if there is a dispute. You want to make sure that they are on board and understand because they pre-approved the purchase. You want to safeguard the purchase card account and information, and you heard the previous speaker speak to that. Immediately report any lost or stolen or compromised cards to the servicing bank and notify your AOR. You want to also notify your agency coordinator of any administrative changes to your account, such as your name and address if you got married or you moved or changed offices and so forth and so on. And notify the AO of any planned reassignments, absences, or departure from the organization. You have more responsibilities, and we want to talk about the bona fide need rule of appropriated laws that states that a fiscal year's appropriations, the funding must be used only for legitimate need that arises during that fiscal year for which it is appropriated. There are some limited exceptions, such as subscriptions or license renewals that will be delivered or become effective during the next fiscal year. And when you're uncertain, you have access to your coordinator to help you and provide guidance. And you want to really adhere to the purchase limits. And just speaking briefly with Melissa, we know that your agency is going through a change and adjusting to these new limits. But this has always been the limit for purchase card holders. You can purchase items up to $3,500 on a single item. However, for that month, your purchase limit is only $3,500. So what's needed is from management or the program areas is some planning. So you want to make sure that you stay within these purchase limits and your monthly limit. And that's highlighted in red, so that's really, really important. Conducting market research and apply other purchase considerations. So market research allows you to make an informed decision. It's just like you're doing personal market research and buying a home or a car, or you're shopping for a dress or a new suit. You want to shop around and get the best value. You want the latest and greatest. You may sometimes not want things that's going to be outdated as soon as you get them in the door. And you want to do enough market research to ensure that the government gets a good value for its money in terms of the reasonable price and timeliness and all those things. And the purchase should represent the best buy that meets the government. Now, sometimes items or things may be cost less, but after you conduct your market research, the value of it or the way it's made or something else may drive that this may be a better cost. You may pay $2 more to get something that's going to have longer longevity, last longer. So, and if that's the case, we're going to talk about the credit card authorization form. There's a place for you to justify your buys. Prohibited use or loyalty programs. I think the OIG just spoke to that. You know, those frequent flyer miles, the Best Buy rewards, Staples rewards. When you accumulate those on behalf of the government, they belong to the government, so we shouldn't be using them for our personal uses. Prohibited purchases. There's a list of them in your policy. Authorized purchase. The OIG even spoke to split purchases. And the prohibited use of third-party purchases, such as maybe eBay. I want to say Amazon. You can buy through Amazon, but Amazon is taking over the world. So we want to be careful and really wait for OMB and some higher federal regulated agency to say how we're going to treat all those niceties that Amazon wants to offer the government. Before completing a transaction, you should consider this, and this is before you click buy. You want to ask if there are any discounts for the government. But of course, you know, if you stick with GSA Advantage, all of those companies and vendors have already been evaluated and offer discounts. And they've already set up a market research process for you. So all you have to do is just go on GSA Advantage or the other GSA buying site, and it will automatically give you a cost comparison and do the market research for you, and then you just select the item. You want to determine if there are any additional charges, such as shipping, establish the delivery time. And this requires some advanced planning, some acquisition planning. If you know you're having a big event and the merchant can't get you your shipment in time, and you want to kind of plan that a little better, look at some other vendors who can get it to you quicker that may not offer, that may offer free shipping or something. You want to check with the sales amount. You check the sales amount to make sure it agrees with the price quoted. Sometimes we can press that button so quickly when making purchases, and then we have to make some corrections or dispute them and go through that channel. Other purchase card holder responsibilities. You know, you have the government has a tax exempt, and there is a tax exempt letter. This is your EIN if the merchant needs it, and if the merchant refuses to remove the tax, then you should try another merchant, and also go to GSA.gov website to get the letter to just like say here, this is our authorization to not be taxed on these items. Okay, buying green products and services. That's recently, well, not recent. Buying green has been out there for a while. It's become part of your training program. But here are some programs that fall under the buying green policy. Recovered materials products, bio-based products, energy efficient products. We get a lot of those even in our homes with refrigerators and batteries and light bulbs and things like that. I think all of these things are tracked at some point through the agencies, through reporting. So when possible, you want to buy green, you want to consider Section 508 as we discussed earlier. And then this screen speaks to strongly encouraging you to use the strategic sourced vehicles. And you can find some of those in your purchase card guide or your policy. These are blanket purchase orders already established for your agency or for a federal agency. And we want you to consider those first. Now, I kind of moved a little fast over the market research. But when we get to the policy, the first thing when you have a need for supplies, you want to first look at your own inventory. And then you want to look at other agencies who can provide that for you. So there's a list priority that you should go through. And I believe strategic sourcing is going to come up as number 6, like the 6th thing you should do when considering and conducting market research. Okay, so we're going to move to the approving official. But I do want to go back to your market research, and you can just make notes of this because I have them here as my note. For required sources, you want to look at your HHS, your own inventory. The second is access from other agencies, as I just stated. And then federal prisons, Unicor, some of you have heard of that. And then you want to look at the committee for the blind, people who are blind. And then the 6th one is your federal schedule, such as your GSA schedule. And then 7 would be your strategic sourcing and other things such as FSSI. Okay, so let me go back to the approving official, office receiver, your new role and responsibility. You should be at a higher level or equivalent grade level with the respect to your card holder under your purview. You submit requests to the agency cardholder coordinator to establish a new cardholder account, their single purchase and monthly billing limit. And you verify that all the cardholder shipping receipts by placing your initials on the receipts. So I know from Maine is going to be working with you too, because this is new policy for the agency, and she's going to be working with you to make this happen. You're hearing this for some of you for the first time. You review and approve the cardholder's transactions under their preview to ensure the transaction is legal, proper, and it's mission essential in accordance with the GSA purchase card program, the FAR, and the HHS purchase card program policy. Here are some other duties. And these are all listed in the policy. It's again, I think in the next section, will see that. Let me just go through these for a minute, see if it's anything that we haven't covered. Okay, you're assigned a default common accounting number, your CANs, and object codes to the cardholder's account. That's something we didn't see earlier. Okay, so the very first one, you reconcile the cardholder statements and transactions during their absence. So we know it's summertime, kids are out, everyone's on vacation, so some of you are probably doing this now, correct? How many AOs do we have in there? Okay, so you want to work with your card holders, see when they're going to be out. I'm sure they come to you and say, I'm going to be out, but I have a purchase coming in, or I need to purchase this. So you want to coordinate that. Report any suspected cases of fraud and abuse, as we heard earlier, to the office program, the agency program coordinator. Report any lost, stolen, or compromised cards. So as soon as the card holder realizes their card's been compromised or stolen, they should report it, the AO should report that, they should report it to the AO, and the AO or OR, I'm trying to get used to that acronym, report it to the program coordinator. And you should assist the card holders with any dispute resolutions, request any cancellations of the card holders' accounts as needed. Okay, so I'm going to let you read that. I'm not going to go through every bullet. Again, this is in your 2010 policy that's being updated, correct? Okay, this is the accountable property manager for certain items that you buy that need and require barcoding. Maybe like phones, some computers or laptops, or different things. Those things really require barcode, and you have a handout that lists some sensitive items and the new form that Constance would like for you to use to list and track all these items. From Maine.
So this is something that we were not doing in the past, but it has come to our attention that it's very, very important. So if you have an accountable item, meaning if you purchase a desk, an iPad, or anything that might be tangible, you need to check with the property manager to make sure if they need to assign an asset tag to it. And if they do assign an asset tag, you need to make a record of it. There's also some documents, handouts of the information that you need to share with her, and she needs to check it and record it. So please, please, please keep that in mind. She's also defined what is accountable property. So please make sure you pay attention to that because it is important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So here's Constance's email here. If you have any questions before you buy the item, you're not sure what's considered accountable property, she has an open door policy, and I'm sure she'll be happy to get your emails or send them through Carmen's, not Carmen's email, but the CMS purchase card emails so that they can be tracked. Okay. The next person is the components point of contact, and these are their responsibilities. They ensure that the supplies and services have been received. They are acceptable according to the HHS purchase card guide before running the roll-up report due to the Office of Finance Management the 15th of each month. So we just came out of July, and your role is to make sure everything is reconciled for July, and you have your monthly statement ready, and the your component's point of contact rolls up all the cardholders' data for that month and gets it to OFM before the 15th of the month so that the vendors and merchants can be paid by the 28th of the month. Now, these are some steps for your payment net system, but they're not all the steps, and we're going to have them posted in the acquisition gateway, your toolkit. So you can look to see the details of the steps and guidance to help you do that. The other important person in the purchase card program persons is the billing official and the budget officer, and these are their roles and responsibilities. The budget officer verifies that funding is available for the purchase before you buy it, and they are located in your own component. And they work, they know that they should be working with you as the card holder and the AOR. The billing official receives and pays the invoices submitted by the component point of contact via the JP Morgan Bank monthly statements, and they also are located in OFM and serves as a liaison between OFM and the program coordinator for the purchase card program. Okay, and here again it says that all your JP Morgan statements must be reconciled and submitted to the CMS bank cards at cmshhs.gov by the 15th of each month. How many of you, well, do we have any CPOCs in the audience? Okay, we have one back there. Thank you for coming. When we get to the questions, if you have any questions, or you can let us know. Okay, so we're getting ready to go into the second session.
Right, and so here is where we want to hear if you have any questions about your responsibilities. AO, I want you to remember that you are supposed to be responsible for the items received or the services provided, not the card holder. This is all about internal controls. So if the card holder puts an order in for supplies, you as the AO is supposed to receive to see if those supplies, the exact supplies ordered, were received, okay? That's going to be your new role. Now, I do understand that some AOs are not physically located with the card holder. And if that's your situation, you need to bring it to my attention, like today. Or tomorrow, no later. So we can try to figure out how to make that happen. But we have to make sure we understand how to check and recheck what we're ordering and receiving. And we can't have the same person providing that same role.
Can you speak to the level of detail?
I need you to come to the mic because we got people on the phone.
So can you speak to the level of detail on the checking on those packages that you're looking for? What is the new expectation?
So you want to make sure you have the right items received, number one. If you ordered, for instance, a box of tissues, you don't want rubber gloves to come in, okay? If that's not on your list, then why are you receiving them? Also, you want to make sure the quantity is right, and you want to make sure the price is right. So if you have those three things documented, then you should be good to go. And as far as services is concerned, I know a lot of us do training with the purchase card, so we need to make sure we have the right training accounted for and the right dates.
So currently, we have we'll just pick somebody to go through the supply order to make sure that what we ordered was what we received, and they will sign off on the property reviewer line of the supply form. It's not the AO, so are we changing that? Does it have to be the AO now?
It has to be the AO, because when the IG comes to me and tells me this happened this way, we need to follow a trail. We need to figure out why it happened, who's responsible in that office.
Okay, so my AO is also my box top, and I can assure you that he is not going to go through a supply thing. So are we going to have to reestablish our purchase card people? Because
yeah, I think that's a good
not
idea.
going to have to.
Right, I agree. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
You're going to have to select someone else to do that.
Okay, and that person is going to have to be the AO, but is also going to have to do what is normally done by the front office people, which is go through the boxes of stuff.
Okay,
that
so who
arrives.
are the front office people?
They're secretaries and administrative assistants. They're not able to be the AO?
Are they located in your area?
Yes.
So the AO can stand there and watch them do it? I don't care how you get it done, but all I'm going to say is when they come back to me and said, who approved this? The AO will be responsible.
But you're not saying that he approved it. You're saying he's actually going to have to sign to receive it.
Yes. Well, no, I'm not saying receive it. No.
That
Not
it was received.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Exactly what was ordered was received.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm currently an AO, and I'm looking at the handout that was provided. This is the delegation, I think, for AOs. So is this, so it sounds like kind of the new control that's being established is this
Right.
kind of receiving like additional duty. So is that, so are we going to get a new delegation that kind of formalizes that?
Yeah, and we'll get to that
responsibility?
in the documentation
And is
process.
that, and a lot of this also comes back to the HHS purchase card guide manual, and so is that being updated to kind of reflect this new role?
Well, I
or is this a
shouldn't-
unique CMS kind of overlay?
Well,
on top
some
of
is
it?
unique to CMS, but a lot of it is reflected in what we call the new handbook that you guys haven't seen yet,
Okay.
which has been under review now for the last 3 years. So we're pushing on, and hopefully that document will be released maybe by the first quarter of the new fiscal year. But you will see
But I
some
think
of that in there, and as well as original to CMS.
But I think this is the key document that I'm looking for to kind of really formalize these new
Okay.
responsibilities it just formalizes the roles and responsibilities. that we're
Correct.
doing.
And then if also, guys, we're looking from the outside in. If you feel this is such a hardship that you can't make it work, you need to bring it to my attention so we can figure it out. But the bottom line is we need to have accountability, and we've got to have it from the purchase card holder all the way to the CPOC. Do we have any questions on the phone? Okay, let's continue.
Okay, so thank you for Maine, and thank you all for your question, because your role as the AO is changing, and as Fermaine said, you'll get a new delegation letter. And so that's what this section kind of addresses, the processes and the documentation. For the purchase card holder, for the AOR, for the CPOC, and for the budget officer, the budget officer. So the AOR and the CPOC supervisor are required to answer 3 questions. This is fairly new, but Femaine says that some people are already doing this. And some of the questions on the vetting form, let's see if you have it. The 3 questions are: how large is your component? How many card holders are currently in your component? And you want to list those card holders and their limits. And then justify why you need another card holder or why your current card holders cannot handle the components purchases. So those are just examples of the questions that's on the vetting list. So the director approves or disapproves your request. The goal is not to have redundancy. No more than 7 card holders in the component. If approved, then complete the required paperwork from your acquisition gateway toolbox and submit the request to the CMS purchase card mailbox. And then the JP Morgan Bank credit application is sent to the potential card holder, and then the card holder sends the completed application to the coordinator, the agency coordinator, who submits it to JP Morgan for further processing. The new approving official office receiver process. You too will be using the new vetting form with those 3 questions that I just stated. The director will approve or disapprove depending on your responses, and I'm sure there'll be some back and forth communications. And if approved, the training and required forms must be completed and sent to the agency program coordinator. The program coordinator sends the AO or OR a new designation letter and copies the CPOC and the supervisors so that everyone's on the same page that this is the new AO for the component or the new card holder for the component. Okay, so once that's been approved and the card holder gets it, they send an email to the AOPC stating that they received their card, and the card gets activated by the AOPC. And this process can take up to 15 business days and no longer than 30 business days. So again, acquisition planning is required to allow time for the card to come in the door and get activated. And then the AOPC will then send the following: your DPA, your Delegation Procurement Authority, with your single and monthly limit stated in that memo. Instructions activity form, that's going to be new for this section. The DPA we talked about in brief. The new credit card authorization form. Now that's very important. That form must be completed with every transaction, including the SF-182. And there's a new purchase log. You'll see, if you have a handout of it, the accountability property column was added to that. And then there's an exiting form for when you leave your component, when you retire, when you go to another agency. So we're going to talk about those documents.
Rose, let me stop you right there.
Mm-hmm.
So how many people are familiar with OAGM's AGX website? Okay, that's not enough. Okay, so we have a glorious website, OAGM, and the way you can get to it the fastest is you go to the Explore page and go under the components and click on OAGM, and it'll take you directly there. And then you need to select Enter, and then go to Communities, and you'll see the purchase card community. That's where all the forms will be residing. And as we mentioned earlier, it'll be a one-stop shop where you can go and get the forms, get directions, and eventually get all the information on how to do your transactions. Policy. Okay, just want to bring that to your attention.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this section really highlights the forms. You're going to answer the questions as I stated earlier, and there are 3 of them, and I read them out because the screen is kind of blurred. And the first question was, how large is your component? The second was, how many card holders are currently in your component? And the third is, justify why you need another card holder and why your current one cannot handle the component's purchases. So that's what that form, how that form reads. The nomination letter, that's one of your handouts. So here you're requesting a new card holder approving official if you're looking at your handout. And these are the fields that they're asking for: the name, the job title, their series, their grade, the organization, the address, the building room location, city, state, phone number, basic information about the card holder, their email, the warranted value, if applicable, and the date the purchase card training was completed. So that's what you would see on that application. This is taking us to the purchase card inactivity form, and this is where the AO notifies the APOC that, the APOC notifies the AO that there's been inactivity on that card holder's account for some time. So that may raise a flag, want to know what's going on. Do you need to pull the card? Is that person needed, is that card holders needed in that component any longer?
And Rose, can I say something here
Sure.
with this form? The reason why we are providing this form, because when we get reports from headquarters where there's no activity in 90 days and 180 days, and we find out the person has transferred or resigned, and you think that we wouldn't, because there is a 129 form that has to be completed when the person exits. For some reason, it's not cross-referencing. So that's why we're instituting this form, to make sure that we pay close attention about who's coming, who's in the program still and who's not. And this was also a GAO finding. They said that we had a lot of people who were still representing as card holders, and they were no longer at CMS. Yes, ma'am.
In October, you know, in the beginning of the year, because we don't get our funds all the time, you know, a lot of times we're getting our funds in January. So that means every credit card holder is going to be inactive. So am I going to have to renew every credit card holder?
No.
Okay.
No, so we do allow for that.
Okay.
It's usually every 90 days after that period, because we understand how the finances flow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And one more thing, if you're notifying the AO, is there any way you can CC the point of contact whenever you contact a credit card holder or AO?
All
So
right.
that the point of contact knows something is going on and we can, you know, help with the process.
We'll definitely take that under advisement. Any other questions on the phone?
Okay, I want to go back to the request for a new card holder or AO. That second page listed all the training that's required to get your certification to be a AO or a purchase card holder. So you have the 508 training and the link. You have the GSA Smart Pay, and I'm sorry I can't show you this on the big screen. The purchase card training is on your LMS site, and there's new training, maybe new, not too new to some of you, the internal controls training, that's also on the LMS, and then there's records management training. And all of your certifications, once you complete them, your certificates, should be sent to the CMS Purchase Card Program at cms.hhs.gov. And I think this is the same email that goes to Common, correct? So don't send Common anything directly. Is you want to send your certificates to CMS_purchase_card_PROG at cms.hhs.gov. And you're going to see this again at the very end of the training. Okay, so I'm going to move forward. The delegation of procurement authority letter is going to come from Maine, and she's delegating this responsibility down to you to maintain the integrity of the purchase card on behalf of the federal government and citizens of the United States. And the first bullets, those 4 bullets, that's where you will find everything you need to run, that you should know about your responsibilities, your roles, your market research, documenting market research. That last bullet, the HHS purchase card guide that's being updated, even though it's not updated yet, there's very good information there on your training, on, again, market research. I can't say that enough. What's prohibited and what's not prohibited. It gives you examples on split buys and when it's not a split buy. And when I was reading this, some of the things you may think is a split buy or not. And when you're not sure, again, you want to send your questions to that email so that Carmen and her backup can get them, or Fermaine can address them. But that policy is still very good. It still has all the federal regulations and policies and procedures there. It just needs updating.
And Rose, can I say a few things?
Sure.
So I would like to applaud the cardholders. We don't experience a lot of split purchases. I think everybody's kind of gotten that down, so I want to say kudos to you guys. But also note that you will see in the handbook that there are warranted cardholders. Unfortunately, I am not able to delegate that responsibility outside of OAGM because you guys don't have warrants. So I just wanted to let you know that in order to be a warrant card holder, you have to have a warrant, and only warrants are held in OAGM. So with that said, if you have a purchase that exceeds the $3,500 threshold and it's a must, then you need to call me so we can talk about it and how to get it procured. Thank you.
Okay, so some of you will be getting new delegation appointment letters, especially the AOR with their new roles and responsibilities. The next slide is one of very important, and everything is important, but this slide is now 3 pages. And let's see if I have a hard copy, I could kind of help you with some of the new elements in it. But it's going to ask you for the date, and this should be completed with every purchase. So the date, the cardholder's name, the cardholder's component, the component control number, the cardholder's extension, the vendor's name, any accountable property. We was really stressing that today. The project number, the obligation number, the fiscal number, all that has to do with the bona fide need that you're spending within this fiscal year. The requisition number, sorry. And then you're going to list the items and their descriptions, the quantity, the unit cost, all those good things. You're going to come up with your grand total there at the bottom. And then there's 2 other sheets of information that you need for every transaction. Even if you forget to add shipping to a previous transaction, if you swipe your card again for shipping or something else, you still need that authorization form signed and approved before you make that buy. Carmen or Fermaine, you want to emphasize anything else about this new form and when they can expect to see it and when effective you want them to stop using the current one and go to using this new one?
Right, so this is going to be effective October 1st because we believe that's when we'll have it finalized and on our website for easy access. I'm sure once you retrieve it, you'll be able to use it, copy it. But this was a finding through the GAO audit where people were putting down maybe 2 words to describe what they brought. They were not putting the quantities, and of course, the accountable property was not listed or addressed. And we did see things that we just couldn't recognize, maybe $8 and some cents, and we're thinking, well, is that a shipping cost, or is that what the item cost? So we couldn't clarify exactly what was going on. So this document hopefully will bring more clarity on what you're purchasing and making sure that we're recording everything that you're purchasing. You need to come to the...
I just also want to mention that the second page of this form has a huge space for market research. A lot of you are not doing market research. It is required. I know you just want to go to Office Depot or Staples or the company you like the best and just buy whatever you need. You cannot do that. You have to look at small businesses on the FSSI, and you need to write down your market research. That means you cannot just go to one website, write down what you saw on that one website, and then buy it. You have to compare prices and then give a justification of why you chose to buy what you bought at that particular vendor. This is very important, and it showed in the audit. Please make sure you're doing your market research.
Anyone else like to make a comment or a question?
Hi. The CCAF that I'm using now, the bottom of it is all for electronic signatures, and there's nowhere on here for that. When I send my form out, all the information that you're asking for here is on it, and then below it are all the boxes that I need for who's requesting it, their boss, all the way down the line.
Okay.
Property, 508, all that stuff. And there's nowhere here on this form for the signatures.
So I guess, yeah. So you're asking, though, you
Sorry, I asked. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So you should be able to electronically sign these documents. If not, please bring it to our attention if it's not working or it's becoming a hassle. Because we're trying to be paperless as much as possible.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and I was going to say that the second page, there's an area, a large area for your justification, and we're seeing that some of you are doing really good with your justifications, your market research, that could use some help, but from the few files that I reviewed, your documentation does have a good justification. And then again, there on the second page is your signature pages and your approving space for the approvals. The third page is a list, again, for a reminder of all those items that are sensitive. So you'll have it right there with the form. And they go over things like the computers, the digital equipment, the communications equipment, multifunctional office equipment, power tools, portable hand drives, portable instrumentation, your videos and still cameras, TVs, and things like that. Those things that are sensitive, that require barcoding, and you need to address those or have your property manager involved in those cases. So that form is very new. Again, it's 3 pages instead of the one that we are seeing anyway from the 2015 reviews. The SF-182 training and certification agreement form, those two require that the authorization form be completed with that. And if there are things on the authorization form that are not applicable, then you just say they don't apply, or, you know, so that we'll know where the funding's coming from. Your HR may have a funding pot that, you know, things are being funded through. You know, each component may have their own training budget. Some things we're seeing are not getting on the JP Morgan statement, and it's probably because they're going through different funding, and that's okay. The goal here is to do good documentation for everything that you're buying. The purchase card log was updated to include the accountability property section. So a couple of you are using the log, some of you are not. It's good practice to use the log so that it helps you to validate your monthly buys. And you want to keep it in your files. But sometimes you could get busy and not write down what you used your card for that day, or maybe you have a lot of buys and the month go by and you forget that you should be logging these in. But that's a requirement, that you really use the purchase card log and have it in your file. And it's going to make your life with reconciling your monthly statements a lot easier. The purchase card exiting form, lets you answer things like, are you retiring, are you moving to another component, and then you will need to turn in your purchase card, correct? So before you leave, you want to make sure you route this card to Fermain's office, or send it through the CMS _purchase_card_PROG@CMS. Okay, so you want to make sure you're using that email. I'm really stressing that email for record keeping purposes and tracking purposes. Exiting form. Okay, we're getting ready to go into the last segment. You all need a break, or we want to take
try
questions?
to push through.
Okay.
But I just want to ask, are there any more questions about the documents? Does everybody pretty much have an understanding? I need you to.
For the area of the market research, if we're using GSA Advantage, can that eliminate us searching everywhere? Because that's given us a grouping of all the different small businesses, green, everything is right there.
If you do that, you have to make sure that you have it in that section somewhere that you did do that. Okay. Yeah, okay?
Or you could, I was going to say, you could print out that screen, because I went up on the site, and when you do a search for your item, it's going to bring up the other 3 vendors, correct? And so you could just do a copy of that for the file. And from the reviews, when I saw GSA, you know, some of you all did really good documentation. I'm like, oh, good, they did market research because they used the GSA Advantage or GSA. Carmen, you want to add to the? Sorry.
There's no problem with using the GSA Advantage. Like you said, it'll come up with the 3 vendors. Just make sure you're documenting that, that you looked at 3 vendors. Just make sure that you're not just going to one vendor, choosing that one vendor, and you never looked at anything else. That means you're not doing market research. You have to compare prices and vendors. And please make sure you are starting, again, with small businesses first. Do not go directly to a large business. You need to research small businesses first. That the small businesses are really that's our aim. Small businesses, because we're doing the micro threshold. So we really want to fund these small businesses first. We understand if you have to go to the large business, but please just make sure you're doing the market research and you're justifying why you had to go to them.
Thank you. And of course, we want to keep the small businesses growing. We want to spread. We don't want them to get stuck using one vendor all the time because they're in agreements and partnerships with GSA. And some of them are guaranteed a certain amount of buys for their year or something like that. So you just want to be mindful that we document and go to the small businesses because all the agencies have to meet a quota for small business.
And I also want to mention, I know some of you struggle with higher prices from the small vendors, so just use common sense. That's all I ask, and document the reason why you've decided to go elsewhere beside the vendors that are either on a listing or the ones that you did the market research with. Because we do want to make sure every dollar counts as much as possible, but if that's something that doesn't make sense to you and you're paying more for maybe a smaller quantity, because sometimes that's where that plays a role, then you need to use your common sense and try to figure out the best way to go forward. Thank you.
Okay, so I just checked in with Emaine. We're not going to take a break because of the time, but I think we can get through the next couple of slides. Some of them may be a repeat, but it's just to reinforce a lot of new changes and new things that your management is looking at. So section 3, and again, if you have to get up and get some water or stretch or whatever, this is informal. Please feel free to do so. So we're going to talk about the process for creating a new component. We just looked at the form. Resign, transfer, or retire. We looked at the exit form. Name changes. The 90-day inactive card holder. Merchants codes, taxis, tolls, cabs. Now that's going to be new. We haven't talked about that so far. Semi-annual review to HS, that's going to be new. And then your purchase card alerts is something new. So those last bullets on the right there are something you're going to be hearing for the first time in this section. The determinations, or you can make the training payments. Okay, so that's pretty new. The spanner control and downsizing the number of card holders. That's related to the vetting form we talked about, how to report fraud and abuse. We heard from OIG earlier on that, but we also have some information here in the slides for you. And interlink audits, which is another way of administering in some internal controls from headquarters. And the GAO Green Book guidance. So that's what we're going to try to get through pretty quickly here. Okay, so this is the process for the CPOC. We talked about it earlier. I don't think I need to spend any additional time on it.
Rose, let me just add here. So this process is convoluted, okay? I'm gonna tell you right now. It takes us forever to move a component that's phasing out to the new name. And it's not, we have no real control over it. All we do is submit the names and the new name, and JP Morgan has to create the new component. For some reason, sometimes it can happen in 3 months, and sometimes it can happen less than that. So I just wanted everyone to know that when that does happen and you have, I'm saying more than 9 cardholders, then it becomes a problem because we're going back and forth, trying to make sure which person should be within the new component. And as you know, as we go forward, I'm sure there'll be more reorganizations, and that process will need to come into play. So I just we wanted to let you know that it's not an easy process. We're trying to make it better, to flow better, but just know it does require a lot of time.
Okay, thank you for clarifying and bringing that to our attention. So again, if you look at the bullets, just to reemphasize what Fermaine has said concerning your pre-existing component, that this is not an easy task. The JP Morgan would send the AOPC the new codes and approval for that new component. And then your AOPC checks all the cardholders and AOR's training that would be moving with the new component. So there's a lot of moving parts here. You're going to request the JP Morgan applications from the CPOC for all the cardholders, and then the AOPC submits completed applications to JP Morgan Bank. Okay, so then the cardholder will receive their new cards within 5 to 7 business days. And so all that's connecting this new component with their new codes for buying, new approvals, validating the pre-existing component information, and making sure everything gets transferred over correctly. And then the cardholder must then go through the process of terminating their old card. Okay. Okay, so the procedure for, in the case of resign, transfer, or retirement, the procedure is the cardholder and the AO sends an email to the AOPC. The AOPC sends the exiting form that we just walked through. The cardholder must wait until all charges and credits have been processed. And then the AOR must wait until a new approval is trained and certified to take over. The completed exit form is then returned to the CMS purchase card mailbox, and the AOPC cancels the card and replaces the AOR in payment net. So that's the procedure for when someone resigns, transfer, or retires.
So AO, I know you're going to have the situation every now and then where a cardholder will leave before the month is completed, and that their payment has not been made or their account hasn't been closed out. So when that does happen, just bring it to our attention and we'll work with you to try to phase that person out.
Okay, name change procedure. The purchase card participant sends an email to the AOPC specifying the name change, and the AOPC will change the information in payment net in that system, and then she will send an email confirming that the name changed once the information has actually changed in the system.
This is also the same process you need to do for address changes as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's slide 49. You can make a note that that's also for anytime you have an address change. The inactivity purchase card process, JP Morgan Bank sends automated email to Common, and she'll send an email to the cardholder with the inactivity form attached, and the cardholder completes the form, signs along with the AOOR, and then the cardholder emails the inactivity form to the AOPC, and then the CMS purchase card program director makes a determination if keeping the card is still warranted. And again, that's if there's no activity 90 to 120 days, I heard earlier. Just 90 days, okay. And the AOPC, let's see, deliver the determination, would then send the cardholder an exiting form, and the process for resigning, transfer, or retiring begins if it is decided that the card should be canceled. Okay, so that's slide number 50. The merchant codes taxi, tolls, cabs, and parking. These are very sensitive items. Taxis, tolls, cabs, and parking should only be purchased on your what? Travel card. Okay, GSA government-wide restrictions in accordance with GSA Smart Pay. Cardholders shall not be using them for the following: for a long-term rental or lease of land or buildings, long-term in general defined as 1 year or more, travel or travel-related expenses, fleet or fleet-related expenses, and cash advances. Concerning parking, you want to work with Maine to create a purchase order for parking vendors.
Right, Rose. So I am currently working with all the regional areas to try to figure out how we can do a purchase order for parking for the fleet cars. Here at CMS headquarters, we don't have that problem because they're parked on the parking lot out here, but in DC and in Bethesda, they have that situation as well. I'm working with Philadelphia currently to try to see how we can figure out how to get a vendor that will accept a purchase order for a year of parking. It becomes somewhat tricky because I know your finance people have to figure out a way how to make that happen every year once we get started. But we definitely cannot use the purchase card for any type of travel-related element expenses. So if you don't take anything else away from this training today, please remember that, because that was also a finding in the GAO report. So if you do have this situation, please reach out to me as soon as possible. As I said, I am touching base with the regions to see how we can make that work. We know it's going to take a while. It probably won't be in place truly until the end of the calendar year, if then. Thank you.
Okay, so that's slide number 51. Again, you should not be using your purchase card for any travel-related, leasing, rental, fleet-related purchases or cash advances.
Rose, one more thing I forgot.
Sure.
I know we're also washing the cars, so that's another thing that I'm going to try to work on, getting the fleet cars on some type of purchase order in reference to washing the cars.
Okay, and this is a reminder that while we're still using the 2010 HHS Purchase Card Program Guide, has really good information in it. It is being updated. And then OMB Circular A123 Appendix B, improving management for the government charge card programs. That is currently under review as well. So you can expect to see a lot of changes and updates to the policies coming from OMB, the Office of Budget Management. Management and Budget, sorry. Okay, purchase card alerts. You've probably seen a few of these already. So this is one way Common can keep everyone on the same page, like you know, Common and for Maine, I'm sorry. Do these alerts when policies or things need to change that are relatively urgent. And so the email in the subject would say CMS Purchase Card Policy Alert. And it will come with the fiscal year date and probably number 1 for that's the first policy alert. So if you need to reference that alert, it would be in the subject field. And this one is changes to the single and monthly purchase threshold. And that one kind of went out in March this year. In it still has some good information how to raise the monthly billing. This email alert did. It has that email that we want you to send all your questions to so that Carmen and her assistant and Maine can address and track your questions. And this one also had the mandatory refresher training that's due every fiscal year. And any annual refresher training certificates that are not received by a certain date, the card will be canceled, this alert says. And then some action items. So this alert was full of information, some very critical, important information. So you will see more of those coming through. Termination of monthly limits, the process. You submit a request to the AOPC and include the following information. You want to provide evidence of your current within the last year refresher training, provide a detailed justification for why your monthly billing limit should be increased, provide an Excel spreadsheet attachment with your monthly spend rates for the first 3 highest months, and then identify the items purchased and the amounts. So you understand that bullet, you're going to look at all your buying maybe for the previous year or current year, and you want to take your highest spending amounts and include them in that spreadsheet. Include your AOR on the request, and you want to send your request to the CMS _purchase _card _PRO at cmshhs.gov. And you want to make sure you put in the subject field request to increase monthly limits. Okay. Spanner control and downsizing number of card holders in the program. So with all the new changes here at CMS, the policy from GAO recommends 7 card holders per AO/OR. And here's a good sample of what's going on with Maine's division and how they are working with their spanner control for 1 AO and 1 AOR alternate. So they have 217 employees in their component. They appointed 2 cardholders that have a warrant and 1 alternate for high-limit purchases. So there may be a case where Maine's office can buy these high-limit things for you or work on how they can do that and help you. And then there's 1 authorized cardholder responsible for supplies. So again, some acquisition planning is needed with your components and division managers and so forth on how to span the control for 1 AO or card holder.
So Rose, I just want to mention, starting in October, I'm going to be doing a closer review of all components and the number of purchase card holders they have. And hopefully we can try to work on trying to get them lower than 7. There are not a lot components that have more than 7, but there are a few. So we're going to try to work with them and see if we can try to downsize. Another finding with GAO. Sure.
So certainly understand the concern with limiting the number, scaling that back. But with the 90-day inactive issue, people take leave. It's rare that they go and leave for a couple weeks at a time, but sometimes they do. So normally you can get by without that, but something that we're looking at is having a backup person. Also, with this proliferation of roles or clarification and separation of duties, it makes it more difficult to have someone they may not be doing the supplies or something like that all the time, but they may need to have access to that card. So I hope that you're factoring that into the mix.
Yeah, we're factoring all that in. We are. Thank you.
Okay, so that sample and really good examples on slide 55. We're moving along. The interlink audits by DHHS. This is the process. So a request is sent from DHHS via interlinks to Common in this case. Common logs into the interlink to pull up the names of the card holders that have been selected to be audited. And then she'll send an email to the purchase card holders informing them that they have been chosen in the audit and provides instructions on what to do. And then the card holder researches the purchase and gathers information requested by the AOPC. The card holder sends the requested information to Common by the deadline set in the initial request. So she's going to give you a deadline to have all your documents and everything collected and together. And then she reviews the information sent by the card holder and uploads your documents into Interlink and submits it back to DHHS.
And just to let you know, when I give you a deadline, that deadline is very important because the deadline I give you is so that I can meet my deadline by headquarters. And when you don't give it back to me in time, headquarters calls us and asks why we don't have the information in on time. Because there's a timer inside of IntelliLink and it kicks me out if you don't send it back in time. Then headquarters has to go back into IntelliLink, restart everything all over again for me to submit the information I was supposed to do the first time. And it makes us look really bad. So when I send you the email, please, please, please make sure that you're getting the documents back to me on time. And the documents that we're requesting are anything that has to do with that purchase, the purchase card authorization form, your receipts, your statements, your justification for why you bought it, and most importantly, your market research. Headquarters has said to me time and time again, why is there no market research? You're being audited. Please make sure you're covering yourself.
Okay, thank you. And yes, market research is the law. The purchase card program falls under the simplified acquisition in the FAR. And the card was established to eliminate a lot of resources tied to small buys or micro buys but we still have to do market research and document why we're buying everything. Every penny of the appropriated funds is tracked, and it's tracked to your organization. Maine's been delegated to make sure you do a good job in representing your agency and doing your and fulfilling your roles and responsibilities. So this is another form of an internal control through the headquarters down to its bureaus and agencies. Okay, let's just say internal controls and processes. So the GOA has a green book. I know there's a red book out there, there's a yellow book, but concerning all the things that we talked about today and having OIG here, they're all related and established through the Green Book. It's how agencies and managers can implement internal controls and processes to make sure, I know in our ethics training, that we don't end up in the Washington Post. That was the one thing that they told us in ethics in my federal career. So the Green Book is there. So in addition to the surveillances such as the Interlink we just talked about and audits established by DHHS, CMS is making strides to improve the cardholders program internal processes by identifying weaknesses and putting internal controls in place to ensure that specific requirements and objectives are achieved using the recommendations in the Green Book. So this customized training is only the beginning. We're gonna make a lot of improvements as we move into the next fiscal year. This is only a start. And again, as we look at the, your files for fiscal year 15 and seeing what you're buying, how you're documenting and doing your market research and filling out the authorization form, we report any weaknesses and we report any strengths, things that you're doing well to remain in common. Because we want your next portfolio, your next scorecard to really look good in the program. And I commend May because this training was scheduled to be like next year sometime. And she got the OIG report and she jumped on it and dived in. And we're here today, and I want to thank her on behalf of Lord and Tucker, and I want to introduce my boss, the president of Lord and Tucker Management and Consultants, Dawn Tucker in the back, who is sitting back there. She is the kind of the strong will behind the effort, and it's been a really fun project, and it's nice meeting all of you, and thank you for your time. For May, I'll let you close it out.
Yes, so thank you. I know this was brutal, but it's a way to the future of how we're planning to do better with our purchase card program. And I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. Every now and then, I know with these changes, it becomes confusing, but we're here to help. And you got a question over there? I see you shaking your head. Oh, okay, all right. So, and I understand that the phone line wasn't working well in the beginning. I'm sorry, I just realized that. But is there anybody on the line, if there is a line, that would like to ask the question now? Okay, so remember, this was mandatory training, so I applaud you who participated today. I will be sending out more communication about when you're supposed to complete that mandatory training if you didn't do so during this session. We want to try to make a strong showing. Melissa was very excited to see the records of those of you who have signed up in the learning management system. And if you, once we close out this training, you can go in there and pull that document for your certificate As I mentioned earlier, in order to do the training virtually, you have to send your supervisor, CC your supervisor an email once you send it to the purchase card mailbox for a training certificate. And those of you, we will try to put this YouTube version up within a week from today for the individuals who need to try to take the training outside of this session. So thank you so much for your time, and enjoy your evening.